Welcome back to Politics Tonight, everyone. Thank you so much for staying with us. Tonight, I've been speaking with a technical advisor on strategy and planning to the national chairman of the All Progressives Congress, APC, Akinsiju. And tonight, we focused on the aftermath of brokered peace as lawmakers withdraw impeachment notice against Governor Fubara. Mr. Akinsiju, let's move on with this conversation. So now, the PDP has reacted. The party has come out to say there's no remedy for the lawmakers who defected to APC yet. How do you view this comments by the opposition party?
I'm sorry. The only way I can describe the PDP is that we have a party with a lost soul, trying its hand at resurrection. Unfortunately, it does not have the power of resurrection. PDP is more or less dead. Nigerians don't even see it as an alternative party. The party failed in government and has failed as opposition. And I think it's even the expression of opinion as articulated by the acting chairman of the PDP, is a little beneath average intelligence quotient, because a party don't come out and it's supposed to be a national party. It's not a peripheral party. It's supposed to be a national party. And you came out to make a substantive position, a substantive statement on a legal matter like that. It invokes how do I call it? It invokes an attitude, a feeling of comic, in me. I just feel that PDP should be more serious. Should be more. I don't want to use the wrong word here, but should be more focused in terms of creating an image of seriousness for itself. It's not every matter that you jump into the arena. You say the acting national chairman, who is acting? Acting suggests that the party itself is not stable. Because if you have a stable party, you have a substantive chairman. The secretary of that party is acting. If the party was stable, you have a substantive. When the secretary of the party went to contest somewhere, he left. There was so much rancor over his movement. He went to contest, and he came back. So much rancor for him to settle in. So whatever they have said in this matter does not hold any water. It is of no substance. It is of no substance because it is not in their place. It is not in PDP's place to pontificate on whether to pontificate on the right of those members that had moved over to the APC. It is just like somebody expressing a roadside opinion, as far as I'm concerned. If they are serious, what they would have done would be to seek out their interest in the public, in the courts, and tell us that by the time they were making this presentation, when the acting national chairman was reading or addressing the press, he should say that they have prepared their papers and they are already in court, and that this is what they are canvassing for in the court of law. It shows a more serious, a more profoundly committed party that wants to correct things. But coming out to dismissively declare that the 27 lawmakers have no choice but to go and seek election on other platforms to get back to the house, it smacks of comedy. And we are appealing to the PDP that the point Nigeria is, there is a need for us to have a substantive opposition party, an opposition party that can be the orchestrators of or strong alternative, profoundly substantive alternative point of view. So they beg the PDP to, if they have to go into a retreat to recalibrate themselves, to re-energize themselves, they should do, so that Nigerians can even have some little hope in the opposition. As it is today, what we have are comedians. And it is not worthy, of the Nigerian democratic trajectory as we are growing. We have a history of democracy. The world acknowledges how robust our democracy is. But it would be unfair for us to describe our democracy as a democracy with a weak opposition. We want an opposition that should be able to counter us on whatever we are saying, fact for fact, issue for issue, substance for substance. That is the way we know that at every point in time, we will be up and standing and knowing that we will have some people on the other side to contend with. But as of now, those we are contending with are comical-minded people. They are comedians, I'm sorry to say.
Interesting. Now, let's go back to the resolutions. I mean, number 7 says the commissioners who resigned are to be reappointed. What impact do you think this will have on governance in the state?
It's a continuation of what they've been doing. Just like I was noted earlier, these commissioners resigned as a result of the conflict. And if the conflict would have to be resolved, we must go back to that status quo. The status quo is that at a point in time, they were members of the cabinet, and therefore, they resigned voluntarily. Of course, there would have been a number of stimuli in their environment at that time, that informed their resignation. Now, those factors at play within their environment have been pacified, as it were. So, to go back to those status quo is to also have them readmitted into the cabinet. And, of course, we are not going to lose, it means that we are not going to lose the experiences, of this collective set of people that resigned. They are going back to continue with whatever they are doing. They understand their governor very well. They have a relationship with him, and even from the little crisis they had gone through, it will also help them understand themselves better. They will understand the candor, the level of political exposition of the governor. The governor will also understand the extent and the limit of his behavior and conduct when it comes to relating with his cabinet. So there will be lesson learned, from this experience. There will be lesson learned, and I know if properly consolidated, it will be to the good of the people of Rivers State.
Right. So like I said earlier, a lot of words have been used to describe this resolution by some stakeholders. Persons like elder statesman Edwin Clark described this resolution as unacceptable. How will you describe such comments?
Well, I think actually I would have to concede one thing for elder statesman Edwin Clark, a man I respect so much. Because even at his age, he's still committed to the development of Nigeria. But in this matter, in this current matter, I think there is an error of articulation. And that error has to do with the fact that everything he canvassed for, everything he said in his press statement was pivoted on the fact that the resolution of the conflict was a slap on the Ijaw people. Now, to me, that is a narrow vision. You do not narrow this whole issue to ethnicity or to an ethnic factor. What I know is that the governor did not emerge governor as with the votes of the Ijaws alone. That is one. Then 2, I also know that the governor was not selected by the PDP or did not emerge on the platform of the PDP as an Ijaw governor. But to the extent that the elder statesman had said that it was a slap, and an erosion of Ijaw value, I think that was narrow. And whatever may be the premise of his conjectures, maybe the premise of his assertions, I think they are eroded by that inclination to ethnicizing the whole conflict. I think it is not even good for the unity of the people of Rivers State. Because if there are 23 local governments in Rivers State, and as they say, 11 of those local governments are Ijaw, it will also suggest for those of us who are not properly steeled in the politics and the subnationalism, activism of the Rivers State, what it tells us is that Ijaw is not the absolute majority ethnic group, in the state. So we want to beg, whenever we have issues, and the truth is that this ethnic dimension that we put into serious issues in Nigeria had more or less eroded the values with which we measure how we should even respond to matters individually. So when we are talking of a clash between a conflict between a governor and its House of Assembly, and the only thing we are concerned about is that it impinges on the rights, the privileges of an ethnic group. That premise we are coming from is already predicated on a wrong premise, very wrong premise. So whatever the elder statesman said, I don't think it's appropriate, and I want to appeal to him that as he has been doing, as he has been conducting himself as a nationalist, that is what we want. People like us who have been following him for years. That's what we want to keep remembering him for. A man who stood for Nigeria at any point in time, a man who stood for issues at any point in time. Because whatever the case may be, the resolution of the conflict in Rivers State is not just good for Ijaw people, it's good for every member of the society of the Rivers State population.
Yeah, but then do you see both sides in this crisis having genuine reconciliation afterwards?
Reconciliation?
Yes. Genuine reconciliation.
I think it's genuine reconciliation. I hope so. I think so, and I hope so. Again, there's no art, to measure the human's mind on the face. But the truth of the matter is, we as human determine our responses by our comportment and our conduct. The president had intervened. We are already seeing the comportment of the House of Assembly, where the governor himself had come out to talk about no sacrifice is too much for peace. He said that. No sacrifice is too much for peace to reign or to be sustained in Rivers State. It's an indication of where the governor is looking at or is focused, as it were. And that's why I said we also need to talk to those third forces, the undercurrent interests, the multiple interests that are intended, on creating confusion and all that, and chaos. We need to talk to them to have the primary interest of the Rivers State people at heart. And that whatever may be their gain, it is better sustained in a peaceful atmosphere. Already we have lost the State House of Assembly complex. That's if it's going to be rebuilt, we'll be talking of billions of naira that could have gone into construction of roads, that could have gone into construction of hospitals, of schools, and all that. Now, if that conflict had been sustained, we don't know how many other state assets would have been engulfed or would have been demolished or would have been involved in some other disastrous thing. So we can only believe that everybody should have the good mind at resolving and being committed to the resolution of this conflict, as it were. And if peace, sustenance of peace, is the primary reason for the whole thing, peace and development is the primary reason for this conflict in the first instance, then peace had been secured. If peace had been secured, it is important that peace is sustained. And if peace is sustained, it would eventually reflect, in the dividends of democracy to the people of that state in particular. And of course, we also know that Rivers State is an oil-producing state. It will also reflect on the prosperity of the Nigerian states too.
All right, then. This is really interesting because, just like Ondo State, we hope this resolution brings lasting peace to Rivers State as well. But does the president have to intervene to clean up the mess created in states?
I said earlier in my opening address that historically, at least since the commencement of this our democratic dispensation, we have a tendency to stay and hold on to our position. And there is also that tendency where we evolved what had been called the federal might. So you see the major actors at the federal level, those who are in charge of the federal government, more or less using the privilege of the office of the federal government to oppress people at the subnational. And we have seen recorded in this country how a number less than 6 impeached governors over the years. We have seen how government at the federal level intervened, in the management of the subnationals, and in a way that speaks of master-servant relationship. Now, if we have someone that is coming in as a peacemaker, and in this particular case, either in the case of the Ondo State resolution, or in this particular case, we know that it was based on dialogue. It was not a directive. No direction was given. Every participant had an opportunity to express himself, him or herself. The governor was available. The deputy governor was available. Former governor, respected Dr. Odili, was available. So you had players in that jurisdiction being available, and the dialogue. So, and that's the most important thing. Nobody gave order. The president does not even have that attitude. It's not his character. He's a man of discussion, So, as far as I'm concerned, this peace was secured through discussion and through dialogue. And except we have other of these players subsume or that got overwhelmed by some other forces or interests, which will be unfortunate. Except we have that situation, that's when we are going to have a turn, of what had been achieved. But I am praying and I'm believing that this had been achieved, just like what we have seen and what we are experiencing in Ondo State. Already we are seeing the reflection of development. We are seeing the impact of peace in Ondo State. So we feel by the announcement of the House of Assembly in Rivers State, we feel peace already. So, and that's the important thing.
Right. Thank you so much, Mr. Niyi Akinsiju, Technical Advisor on Strategy and Planning to the National Chairman of the All Progressives Congress. Thank you so much for joining us tonight as we discuss Rivers State crisis as we can for Barra Rich Juice by means of the intervention of President Bola Tinubu. Thank you so much for joining us, sir. We appreciate you.
Thanks so much. It's a pleasure. Pleasure is mine.
And thanks a lot for watching. That marks the end of today's episode of Politics